What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Baseball Banter, episode 16. As always, I'm joined by my brother from another mother, good friend, the kid with the golden locks. You can think of anything you want to call him, Mikey Boy, Michael Hewitt. How's it going, buddy?
It's going pretty well right now, and I encourage the compliments and the hate that I will receive on my hair.
If I hope it's a bit more hate, but I was watching some of your older videos, Mikey. I was being a little bit stalkerish, and I'll
Cool.
give you this. I was giving you this because you're a cute guy. I got to stalk you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just weird like that.
It's all right.
When your hair gets a little bit more brown and it's just like the tips of your hair and it's just blonde, it doesn't look as bad. But
Okay.
it's when you go with that middle-aged lesbian look where it's super short with the tips, that's when it don't look good. I don't
All
like it.
right. I'll try and work on that.
Yeah, you need to keep it like a bit more lined up is all I'm saying. So, today, Baseball Bader 15, we got actually quite a little bit to talk about here, a nice little show lined up. First business, and it affects me more than it affects you. Dave Dombrowski today announced that the Tigers have signed Joel Hanrahan, the Hammer, to a major league deal worth $1 million. Mikey boy, your thoughts?
Well, just for your sake, I hope he does better than he did with the Red Sox, but I do believe he will do better than he did with the Red Sox. I mean, he ended up going to the disabled list early in April last season because of his arm injuries, and he was not good with the Red Sox in his short career there, but he was pretty good at the Pirates. He had good velocity. I don't know what his velocity was in his sessions before the Tigers signed him. Did they announce that?
Yeah, it was low 90s, 92.
Okay, so he's lost a little bit of velocity, but as long as he throws strikes, he should be good. And let's be honest, I mean, any guy going to the Tigers bullpen will be an improvement.
You are not kidding. The Tigers bullpen this year is ranked 29th in ERA. That is how bad they have been. And I made a video earlier today, this week in Tigers baseball, saying that I couldn't believe that the Tigers are where they're at right now with the record, with this how bad their bullpens pitch. The Tigers, their starters haven't been going as many innings as of late. Sanchez came out early. Rick Porcello only went 5, and there's been quite a few starts sprinkled in. Verlander's gone 5 or 6. Scherzer's had a couple starts only going 6. So the bullpen, as bad as it's been used a lot. And when you have a flaw as big as that bullpen, getting exposed, getting more chance to get exposed as often as it has, I'm amazed that the team is sitting where it's at for record-wise, and the ERA does reflect the 29th in team ERA. But when I read this signing, because I was a big advocate of the Tigers going after Joel Hanrahan in this past offseason, I knew he had the Tommy John surgery. I knew he didn't do very well in his brief stint with the Red Sox with you guys. But if you look at his past numbers, you look at his last 2 years in Pittsburgh, in, 96 games, I want to say, 133 games, okay, which compiles to 128 in the third innings. He compiled a 2.24 ERA with, how many saves? 76 saves, and he only allowed a 1.153 whip with a 3.69 walks per nine, with a 9.0 strikeout ratio. Strikeout to walk ratio is pretty good at 2.46. This is a guy that's a proven closer, 2-time All-Star. I remember the Pirates coming in back in 2011, the first year Joel Hanrahan really emerged as a dominant closer. He's coming in throwing 97, 98, and just throwing that wipeout slider, that wipeout slide piece. And when this guy is healthy, he's an outstanding closer. I'm sure when you guys signed Joel Hanrahan last year, you were pretty pumped about it, knowing what his past track record was. His velocity was down in the workouts he had. It was a 92, 93. And Joel Hanrahan did say, because he already is down in Lakeland throwing, that he is a velocity pitcher, but he feels like once he gets some more innings, some more reps in game-time situations, that the velocity will come back. But being at 92, 93, but just barely a year removed from Tommy John, that's a pretty promising sign. So he does feel like the velocity will come back up into the upper echelons of the 90s, maybe 96, 97. He's hoping to get back in there. Some promising signs, though. He said that if he had to pitch today, he feel like he could. But the reason why they're going to hold him off for a month or so is they don't feel like he has the arm strength or the stamina to pitch on a day-to-day basis yet. He needs to build back up that arm strength, which he feels once that arm strength is built back up, that he will be able to throw the upper 90s like he was used to, and hopefully he carries that wipeout slider with him. Even if he sits 92, 93, 94, but he still has a good slider, and his command is somewhat close to what it was before. Hopefully not 2012 because he walked 5.4 batters per nine. It's a great sign. I mean, you add Hammer to the bullpen, you finally have a legitimate, because you look at the Tigers bullpen right now. I know Chamberlain's been okay as of late. You know, Kroll's been really good against lefties. He can't get out righties. Coke can't get out anyone. Evan Reed's all of a sudden taking a bit of a turn for the worse. Jose Ortega was a failed experiment after one game. You know, Justin Miller didn't last very long. Al Albuquerque is just Al Albuquerque. He can strike out guys when once in a while, and then he can walk a bunch of guys every time. So, you know, you're finally getting another. This is the one thing I was crying about the entire offseason, is you look at the arms they were going to bring in to build up this bullpen. Rendon was unproven. Already lost him to Tommy John surgery because you didn't know what he was going to get. You know, was his arm going to hold up? You know, Coke couldn't get anyone out. You're adding a rookie and Kroll. You know, you're relying too much on Albuquerque. You know, you're relying too much on Jabba Chamberlain, a guy that hasn't been good for consistency. Now you're adding a household name, a guy that's been a two-time All-Star, can close games for you when Nathan needs a break. He's still relative. He's only 31, so he's young, or 32, excuse me. I really like this move. I can't see any risk, and it's only for $1 million, Mike. Find a flaw.
Yeah, there isn't one. And for your sake, I mean, you'll have to deal with another month of the Detroit Tigers' crappy bullpen. But hopefully when he is placed in the bullpen, he will improve the bullpen and continue to give the Tigers wins.
Now, look at it like this. Hammer in the 8th, Nathan in the 9th. Now that if Jabba Chamberlain can keep – because he's had, I think, 4 or 5 consecutive scoreless outings up until like a couple days ago. If Jabba can pitch anything like that, now you got 8th and 9th there. Now that Jabba Chamberlain signing makes a little bit more sense because you have 2 proven arms ahead of him. So now that signing doesn't look nearly as bad because you're taking him out of a role that he shouldn't be in based on his past history of statistics and trends. So now that signing doesn't look as bad, and you can take the foot off the pedal a little bit of trying to overuse Evan Reed, you know, trying to overuse Ian Kroll against righties. You know, you can back off. And now that bullpen, don't get me wrong, there's still some question with Hanrahan. We haven't seen him face hitters, but that bullpen goes from definitely shit to just kind of stinking right now. And if Hanrahan and Nathan can, because Nathan's really cleaned it up, if Hanrahan can look like Hanrahan and you get maybe one more arm at the deadline, then you have a nice pen at the back end. 3 arms that can guarantee you outs. You know, you get one more arm, 3 arms that can guarantee you outs, and then you have a throw up and a toss up of Jabba Chamberlain with a couple other guys who are being heavily relied on now go back into their proper roles. So this Hanrahan move clears up a lot of you know, issues in that bullpen. So, just as we started this, Hyunjin Ryu goes on the disabled list. I believe from what Team Stream says, Hyunjin Ryu on the 15-day DL. They call up Jose Dominguez and infielder Sean Figgins. So he goes on the DL due to shoulder inflammation. Why couldn't I say that word? Jason Kipnis also went on the DL. Who's a bigger blow to their team, Mikey?
It's a tough one. I tend to always side with the pitcher, so I'm going to go Ryu. But I think you can make a case for either one. And when you look at the talent the Dodgers have and the lack of talent the Indians have, a case can certainly be made for Kipnis. But I will side with Ryu from the Dodgers.
I got to go with Jason Kipnis because the Indians are 11-17 right now. Their pitching staff isn't that good. You know, Ryan Rayburn is shown looking like Ryan Rayburn again. You know, Jason Kipnis was an all-star on their team last year. He is a big bat. You know, don't get me wrong, Kipnis hasn't been exactly tearing the cover off the ball. And trust me, I know. He's on my fantasy squad. I look at his numbers every single day. But you're getting back Clayton Kershaw. You know,
that's true. Yep.
This is okay, you lose Hyunjin Ryu, who was great last year. He had a 3 ERA, but now you're getting back a guy who's won 2 of the 3 last Cy Youngs in the NL. So it's kind of a wash. And Dan Herron's been outstanding for those guys. You know, the whole rotation's been pretty nice for the Dodgers. So, and now you're getting your horse back, your ace. I got to go with Jason Kipnis on this one because just specifically for the fact the Indians aren't playing good at all, and you lose your best player on your team. You know, the Dodgers have the depth to replace Hyunjin Ryu for however long it takes. The Indians don't have the depth to replace Jason Kipnis. So we move on to your backyard, Mikey boy, the Red Sox. Inconsistent pitching. Your offense is good one day, it's not. You know, your bullpen some days isn't that great. You know, Edward Mojica wasn't great either to start the month, that's for sure. You know, you guys can't seem to get any bounce-back wins. When you're down, you know, like I think you told me a stat that when the Red Sox are trying to get back to 500, they're 0-7 this year. Mike,
That's right.
Are they in trouble? Are you worried?
No, and I'll tell you kind of what you alluded to with the Tigers, and the Tigers have a much better record than the Red Sox, but they're kind of fortunate to be where they are. I think the same holds true with the Red Sox, and they're 13-16, currently in last place in the division, so can it be much worse? Yes, but they're not buried because if you look at the American League East standings, nobody's really taken off, and each team has had flaws, particularly in the pitching department. The Blue Jays' rotation sucks. The Orioles' rotation from the beginning I didn't have much faith in. The Yankees have lost Pineda now, and his injury seems worse than actually was first diagnosed. Nova's having Tommy John surgery. The Rays lost. Who went out on the table for the Rays?
I know
Alex
exactly.
Cobb.
Yeah, Alex Cobb. Yeah.
And there was somebody else. I'm losing. Oh, Matt Moore. Of course, Matt Moore.
Yeah, Tommy John.
Exactly. So the Rays and the Red Sox and the Yankees have all had their issues in the pitching department, but I do not lose hope with the Red Sox yet. And the reason is because when I look at that lineup, I think they're much better than what they have done. And what I mean by that is their average with runners in scoring position is 223 as a team. Now that is bad enough, but let's look at some guys that really count and are relied on to produce runs. David Ortiz is hitting 167 with runners in scoring position. I think that's going to get better. Napoli's hitting, I think, in the 150s, and Pedroia is hitting 213. And one thing on Pedroia, I know we're going to get to him in a little bit later, but he's shown no power. I mean, he has 9 doubles, which is important, but no threat to hit the home run. I don't think he's come. I think he came close once. Actually, it was that controversial home run call that ended up being a double in that game they walked off the Orioles on the Sunday Night Baseball game.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Pedroia hasn't shown any power, and I think the Red Sox pitching, as far as that's concerned, I think that'll get better. The bullpens look pretty good, except Koji Uehara. Freaking Koji Uehara gave up a home run yesterday. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe that ball out of the infield. That surprised the hell out of me.
And it was the deciding run. The Red Sox lost 7-6. Koji gave it up, but I couldn't knock him because he's been so dominant over the last year. But anyways, I think they're going to be fine. Again, they're not this bad, but it just goes to show that last year they weren't that good. And one thing I want to say to Red Sox fans, John, I know you want to get a word in, but just quickly, Red Sox fans, at the end of last April, when the Red Sox were 18-8, you told me they were well on their way to the playoffs, they were going to win the World Series, and hey, you know what? You were right. You called it. I was wrong. But if we're going to be consistent, then I guess the Red Sox are going to miss the playoffs. And actually, if you look at some evidence dating back to 2010, every year the Red Sox finished April under 500, they missed the playoffs.
That's bone chilling.
Damn.
Right there. Monkey Boy went hard on that one. Holy crap. You know, I got to agree with you. It's not like the AL East. You don't have the Milwaukee Brewers in your division right now who's just pulling away from everyone. You know, everyone's kind of bunched up. Guys aren't playing to their expectations. I mean, Yankees just lost a couple big pitchers out of their rotation for right now. So, you know, you don't expect them to pull away, anytime soon. So a couple games under 500 in April, I think you're in good shape. You know, because like you said, no one's been really dominant. I think a testament to your season so far is Jake Peavy has the lowest team ERA. He's arguably been your best pitcher, yet he has 22 walks to lead the AL. So if that isn't like, screwy with your mind, I think that's been your season to this point. You know, it's kind of screwy. You know, I think once Xander Bogaerts, he's hitting not bad. You know, he's hitting 271, 391 OBP, 375 slugging. I think once he starts showing a bit more extra base power, getting some bigger hits, because I remember talking to you a couple weeks ago, and I was like, why does it seem like every time I watch a Red Sox game, Xander Bogaerts goes 3 for 3 in a game that they're down 5, or, they're meaningless singles in the 4th inning with 2 outs. I think once that changes a bit more, once David Ortiz starts hitting, once Dustin Pedroia warms up a little bit, that's when you guys will really start to take off. And it hadn't helped that you went through, 3 third basemen in the course of a month, while Will Middlebrooks was hurt. I mean, because I know you already missed Tapman because he was so great for you guys. But
yeah, and I mean, they're missing the presence of Ellsbury. But another thing I want to just point out to Red Sox fans quickly, because they've pointed to the injuries the Red Sox faced with Middlebrooks and Victorino, who missed their first year games. I think Middlebrooks missed 19, Victorino over 20. David Ortiz missed, I think, 15 games in 2013. And I know, again, the lineup was different, but it just goes to show that when the Red Sox faced adversity last year, they overcame it, and this year they're struggling with it, which is normal. I think that's what this team is capable. I think they're not going to be the aberration 2003 Red Sox. So I think, or 2013 Red Sox. So I think they're on the right path right now, and I think they'll get better because they're not this bad.
No, that is for sure. So we move on to another segment I wanted to do today. Who is likely to fail first, or which is likely to fail first, excuse me. The Rockies having 3 hitters in the NL tops in average. Charlie Blackmon, Troy Tulowitzki, and Justin Morneau are all hitting, I think, above 340. And Charlie Blackmon, by the way, whoever didn't draft him in my fantasy league and let me get him after the second day of the season, I appreciate it because he's been an absolute steal. All those guys are absolutely on fire. So who fails first, them or the Mets staying over 500?
Well, I think it's tough, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Rockies hitters, and the reason being is because the Mets, I think, are 3 games over 500. They're actually playing the Rockies right now, or they will be this weekend. Um, but I do choose the Rockies hitters to fall off the schneid earlier than the Mets because these Rockies hitters are having 4 game, while the Mets can't get under 500 for a good 4 days. So I'll go with the Rockies hitters, but again, I mean, we are talking about the New York Mets here. I don't want to put my faith in the Mets.
You know, the Rockies have, I think, 14 home games or 15 home games this month, and their hitters have absolutely been destroying there. You know, Rockies fans have to be absolutely elated that Justin Morneau, you know, has looked like the Justin Morneau of the past. You know, signing him and going to that ballpark, which they hoped, you know, would make him look like the Morneau back when he was in the Homer Dome and the Metrodome, you know, would reappear because he's playing in a ballpark that it's very hitter friendly. So, you know, he's looked great. Charlie Blackmon, he actually, believe it or not, I know you can't take WAR as a be-all, end-all, but Charlie Blackmon is, in a month, Mike, has a higher WAR than Prince Fielder had of all last year already. That's how good he's been. And Troy Tulowitzki, he's hitting everything that crosses over the plate. But the Mets right now, their pitching staff, Dylan G in 6 starts has a 2.88 ERA and a whip of 1.033. John Neese in 5 starts has an ERA of 2.20 and a whip of 1.041. Zach Wheeler in 5 starts has an ERA of 3.99. You know, the walks have hurt him some because his walk rate is at 3.4, but the strikeout rate's pretty nice at 9.5. And then Mejia in 5 starts has a 3.49 ERA. Believe it or not, the pitcher they brought in to come in and sort out the rotation the most, Bartolo Colon's been their worst pitcher to this point. That pitching staff has been surprisingly good. And, you know, think about this. The Mets are 3 games over 500 with practically no production from Curtis Granderson. So when you're pitching that well, which, you know, you can't expect the Mets to do all season, I got to go with them staying over 500 a bit longer because those guys have been off to an outstanding start. So that's what I'm going with. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, I thought you were trying to get my attention there for a second.
No, all I was going to say was no, because I thought you were going to side with the Rockies or side with the Mets going under 500 for the Rockies, and I thought I misheard the question because I thought it was, will one of the Rockies hitters fall off to then remove the 3 being up 340 at the same time? Because I think Blackmon will cool down. Clearly, he's not this good, and he will deal.
I don't know, man. Blackmon's. I was reading some articles on Baseball Prospectus, and the way he's cut down his strikeout rate and the way he's brought up his walk rate is pretty astounding. Now it's at a level that it's unsustainable, but I think Charlie Blackmon's legit this year.
Hey, I hope you're right because I am in a franchise and MLB 14 the show, and I like myself from Charlie Blackmon, but he is not performing to the way he is in real life.
He's been pretty damn good, I can tell you that.
Oh, I know that.
All right, so we move on to the next one. Most likely to fail first, Giancarlo Stanton or Jose Abreu? Who cools off first?
This is a tough one. I mean, Stanton's been here, but I'm gonna go with Abreu because, and the reason it is so defeatable because he isn't used to the league, but clearly that hasn't been a problem in the month of April. Playing in Chicago where it's cold as hell and still driving the ball out, not only just to left field, but he's going opposite way with home runs. He's been just outstanding. And you could also make the claim that, well, you know, Giancarlo Stanton playing in that big ballpark, maybe that's why he's going to go off first. I'm going to go with Jose Abreu, but they've both been outstanding, and if both of them cool down, which I think eventually they both will, you can't knock them because they've been excellent.
God, I mean, it's such a hard one. You know, the only thing is, the reason why I'm probably going to go with Abreu is he strikes out a lot. You know, not Giancarlo Stanton actually has more strikeouts than Jose Abreu does, but Abreu was on like a tear. I mean, even Justin Verlander is noticing how good Jose Abreu is. Verlander made him look stupid the last time he faced him. You know, that's what kind of makes me think Jose Abreu is going to cool off because Verlander, you know, Abreu is a really aggressive hitter that sits on certain pitches, and he will sit up there and swing it out of the zone at some bad pitches. You know, Verlander in one particular bat threw him a first pitch slider in the dirt, swung at it. Threw him at identical pitch again, swung at it. Threw him another slider, swung at it. He didn't even throw him a fastball, you know. But if you miss with those pitches in the strike zone, and he can't hit good fastballs for sure, he's going to take you yard, and it doesn't matter. One thing that he's shown me is a lot of people, well, he plays in Chicago. He plays at a bandbox. He hit a ball dead center at Comerica Park, 440 feet. that dude has pop. Like, the only person I've ever seen put a ball there before is Miguel Cabrera. And I'm not even joking with you. But I'm going to go with Giancarlo Stanton just because I think, the way the Marlins play at home, as a team this year, and they're scoring a lot of runs. I think, that's a big reason why I think Giancarlo Stanton will keep it up a little bit more. And Abreu slumped down a little bit too mid-month already, but then he brought it back up. I mean, he's got 10 homers and 32 RBIs. The kid is slugging .617, and he's got 71 total bases already. What's crazy is he's slugging .617, but his on-base percentage is at .336. He's barely at a league average on-base percentage. But that's because of how much he strikes out. He doesn't walk. He has 9 total walks and 115 at-bats. But it's hard to walk when you're hitting homers every time up. So I don't think he's going to have 32 RBIs in a month again and 10 home runs. But I'm going to go with the guy who's been there, done that. I'm going with Giancarlo Stanton over Jose Abreu, but definitely 2 really good sluggers this past month. And then we move on to Chris Johnson has agreed to a 3-year extension with the Braves. How do you feel about this move, Mikey boy?
I think it was a good addition. I mean, clearly when he went over to the Braves, when did he first go to Atlanta?
He was a part of that trade for Martin Prado.
So was that 2020?
Yeah, he was the Justin Upton trade guy. He was that extra throw-in piece. He wasn't even one of the premier pieces. It was Upton for Prado, and I think Randall Delgado went over to the Diamondbacks, and then Johnson came over to the Braves with Justin Upton.
I mean, I like the signing, but what type of player are we dealing with here? Because in 2013, he hit .321. Not a whole lot of power, only 12 bombs, drove in 68 ribbies, but I think he gave them what they wanted. This year he hasn't been that great. I mean, he's hitting .255, his OBP is .290, his OPS is .641, so not terrific. The deal they gave him was not, relative to what some good third basemen make, not crazy money. But he's above average, but nothing special. I guess I like the deal. He's a typical Atlanta Brave. When I think Atlanta Braves, I don't think. I mean, I know you can say Chipper Jones and all that, but I don't generally think of big stars. I just think of a good fundamental team.
I think if you're a Braves fan, you got to be ecstatic because you lose Chipper Jones, and you're like, how are you going to replace a legend at third? And what does Chris Johnson do? He was in the lead for the batting title for a good little while in the NL last year. I mean, a guy hits .321, .358, 457 slugging percentage. He doesn't play a bad third base. I mean, 12 homers and 68 RBIs. And this guy wasn't even the main piece of the trade. He out-hit Justin Upton, minus the RBIs and home runs part of it, because RBIs and home runs is the biggest part of it, in my idea. I think he was better than Justin Upton last year. Maybe not from an overall production standpoint, but as a hitter in getting on base, he was better than Justin Upton last year. So, I mean, you can't complain. And for this guy who was just a throw-in piece, a part of this deal, I mean, how can you complain? And in a 3-year deal with a team option for 4th, I really like it. And actually, to warrant that comparison, Justin Upton last year had 27 homers and 70 RBIs. Chris Johnson had 12 homers and 68 RBIs. So it goes to show you that home runs and RBIs aren't everything. This is just from a production standpoint. So he had 2 less RBIs. Chris Johnson had 54 runs to Justin Upton's 94. As a slash comparison, Johnson was .321, .358, .457. Justin Upton was .263, .354, .464. So this is Justin Upton. Justin Upton struck out 161 times, and Chris Johnson's 116. And Justin Upton was the main piece of this trade. And Chris Johnson, the throw-in, was better than Justin Upton last year. So I think it's an outstanding move. The Braves really have done well with that trade. That is for sure.
Oh, I agree with that. I just don't know how great the signing will be. But, yeah, excellent pickup in the trade.
Yep. All right, so we move on to predictions for May. What team do you think will have the best month? What player do you think will have the best month? And who do you think is most likely to bounce back this month?
All right. So, John, can you go over that one more time? I had my stupid head on right now.
Okay. What player do you feel is going to have the best month this month? Like a Charlie Blackmon, a Giancarlo Stanton.
Okay.
What team do you feel is going to have the best month this month? And what player do you think is going to bounce back this month?
All right. I'm going to go backward, and I'm going to start with a player who's going to bounce back, and that is my boy, Dustin Pedroia. Now, he has not been good.
You're a homer.
Oh, yeah, it's a homer thing. Well, if they're going to start winning games, they need Pedroia to cut back and heat up offensively because he has not been great. Like I alluded to earlier in the video, I think he's hitting .251, no home runs. I think he has 6 RBIs, 6 or 9 RBIs, but not even in the double digits yet. Um, Again, now he's asked to hit second because they finally got Middlebrooks back and Victorino's in the lineup. So Pedroia's been hitting second or leadoff. So he's not necessarily in a position to drive in runs, but when he was asked in April, he couldn't do the job. But I'm looking for him to have more power, and I know Pedroia dealt with a wrist injury back in the beginning of April. I think he's too good a player not to heat up a little bit. Now, will he be the best player in the month? I don't think so, but I think he can't be as bad as or as mediocre as he was back in April.
All right, but how about this? He has a bobblehead. What can you say about that, Mike? He had bobblehead night the other night.
Oh, God. I think that's why they played the doubleheader. I didn't look into it, but Ben Zobrist made a comment after the race swept the Red Sox in the doubleheader and said, hope everybody enjoyed their bobbleheads. If that was a PR move, or if that was a marketing move by the Red Sox why they wouldn't move the games because it was bobblehead night, shame on the Red Sox. Now, the team that's going to heat up. Well, I would say heat up because it's relevant to the St. Louis Cardinals. That's my pick. They're 15-14, not too bad. They're in second place. Their pitching has been outstanding in the month of April, or was outstanding. Adam Wainwright was good. Joe Kelly was good, even on the disabled list. Michael Wacha was awesome. But offensively, the Cardinals just were mediocre. I think they, as a team, their slugging was like 6. Their OPS was in the 630s. The team average wasn't that good, and they just weren't scoring a lot of runs. And I think the St. Louis Cardinals are too good not to be much better than a 500 team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're ahead of the Brewers after the month of May. And lastly, the player that I think is going to have the best month. Hey, what the heck? I'll say this is coming on. I'll say Derek Jeter. You know what? Just so Yankee fans love me. I don't know. I think that anybody can have a great month, even if they're mediocre. But I'll go with Derek Jeter. No, screw it. I'm not going to do that. I changed my mind. You want to call me a big homer? I'm going to go with Xander Bogaerts. Boom.
Oh, man. But is he going to have a bobblehead, though? That's how you know when you're big, when you have bobbleheads.
I don't know.
You don't need to drive in runs when you got bobbleheads, Mike.
Oh, of course not. And Red Sox Nation, those pink cats are happy. Woo! We're going to go get Dustin Pedroia bobblehead. You know, out Millie from Vermont. Yes! Going to get that bobblehead for her. Oh, these fraudulent fans. I can't take it, John. It's too much. And for those that... There he is.
This is what happens when you're pro, Mike. You have a Mike Trout psycho bobblehead. This is how you know Mike Trout's good, because he has a bobblehead. So, Mike, not you, Mike, this Mike. Who do I feel is going to have the best month as a team? You agree? He agrees with me, the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers got back Matt Harrison. They're getting back Sin-Soo Choo, who has been he had an injury and whatnot, and he just came back. And so he's going to be a nice boost back to that Texas lineup. You know, Prince Fielder, he can't hit this bad for this long. He had an awful, awful month of April. He's finally over the Mendoza line. He's got a couple jacks now. So I think getting back Matt Harrison and having Martin Perez, who has absolutely been a big, big, big piece to that pitching staff. Martin Perez, in 6 starts this year, he has a 2.95 ERA. He's got 2 complete game shutouts already, so he's been a huge piece of that Texas Rangers bullpen. You know, Robbie Ross has done good work for them. Yu Darvish, you know, he can't beat the Oakland A's, but he's outstanding. You get back Matt Harrison, so to go along with that, Nick Martinez has been pretty good for them. You get back Sin-Soo Choo, a full month Adrian Beltre. Prince Fielder can't be this bad for this long. I still think the A's are going to be in first place at the end of the month, but I think actually, no, I don't. That's kind of contradictory, saying I think the Texas Rangers are going to have the best way. I think the Rangers have a shot of jumping over the Oakland Athletics for first place. But those two teams, man, the Rangers sweep the Athletics at O.co Coliseum, and then the Athletics sweep the Rangers at home. Do you see that? How that was really weird. So I'm going with them just because of the fact they're getting back. I have Adrian Beltre all month. They'll have Sin-Soo Choo back. You know, Prince Fielder can't be that bad. Getting back Matt Harrison, so their rotation will be a bit better shape. So I'm going with them. The player that I think is going to have the best month, I'm going with a 2-parter. He's going to be both my bounce, or no, the player who I think is going to have the best month is Miguel Cabrera, because Miguel Cabrera for the month was, let me pull up these stats here. This month he only hit 271, I believe it was. He had 277, 324, 15. He only had an OPS of 735 and only 39 total bases. He did not have a good month of April. I had 2 homers and 15 RBIs. Now, Miggy has started to heat up a little bit over his last 3 games. Over his last 3 games, he's hitting 385 with an RBI. Over his last 10 games, he's hitting 333 with an on-base percentage of 476 and OPS of 840. More Miguel Cabrera-like numbers. But here's another reason why I think Miguel Cabrera is going to start heating up and coming back. His swing has looked better. He started taking the ball the other way with authority again. And for his career in May, he has 53 homers, 211 RBIs, and he posts a slash line of a cool 330, 399, 569 with an OPS of 968 in his career. May is actually his second best month of his career out of all of his numbers. So this is the month he typically heats up in. The swing's looking better, so that is why I'm going with Miguel Cabrera to be the best hitter of this month. And you can call me a homer for that one too, because I'm going right in my own backyard like you did. And the player who I feel is most likely to bounce back, we're going to go out to L.A., the softball with the awesome beard who I'm trying to mimic. Look at my crappy beard. Yeah, that's right. It's not Kershaw-esque, but it's good enough. Clayton Kershaw is coming back. He's eyeing a return on Monday. No doubt Kershaw, who remember me and you talked about why teams didn't want to play in Australia because they had to rush starters. It's a kind of coincidence that Kershaw has 2 starts and he had to rush to spring training and he goes on the DL. Well, my man's coming back, undoubtedly going to have the biggest bounce back month after missing most of all of April. So, move on to our weekly MVPs. Who is yours, Mikey boy?
My weekly MVP is Yasiel Puig of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think in his last 7 games he hit 460. In fact, I think I have the stats up here. I hope I do. I do not. I apologize to our audience. But it was something where he had like 460. I think he had 460. He was slugging over like 1.2, 1.3. He hit 1 home run. I think he had 5 doubles. He drove in, I think, 7 RBIs. He was outstanding for the Dodgers, and I love seeing Puig do amazing.
Didn't he have like 6 hits against the Twins the other night? I think like 2 nights ago.
Yeah, I think that was him, yep.
He was on friggin' fire. So, I'm a West Coast homer, man. I swear to God. I got my Mike Trout poster back there. I got my Mike Trout bobblehead. You know, I'm picking the Rangers, you know, even though they're not West Coast, to have their bounce back month. I'm sticking out there in the West. And I'm going with, hang on a sec, Mike, let me grab this one too. Here we go, guys. Have a card video along with my Trout video. I'm going with my man, Sonny Gray. And that's right. That's Bowman rookie auto action right there. My man, Sonny Gray, what does he do last time out? Tosses his first complete game shutout against the Texas Rangers. The man is dominant. Throws high cheese, nasty slider, good hook, changeup that's still developing. My man this week was absolutely filthy against the Texas Rangers. That is why he is my MVP of the week. Who's your LVP?
He only had, I think, 1 start, but Aaron Harang. Now, Aaron Harang, for the month of April, was dominant. I mean, I think people were giving him some Cy Young attention here. You know, what's in the water in the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta? I mean, this dude completely revived his career up here. Not really. Last week, I think he gave up in 2 innings 9 earned runs, and he returned to the Aaron Harang we're used to seeing. But he's not that bad. I just thought it was such a horrible outing that he deserved at least valuable quality.
It's weekly. LVP, man. Weekly LVP. So you're not in the wrong, even though Harang's been really good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Braves, that's been one of the best pickups of the offseason at this point, even with that bad start he's had. Because Harang's been absolutely outstanding for that Braves rotation, who's been really great. I mean, it's hard to believe how good that rotation's been. So my LVP, after I cut you off rudely, isn't this guy, Mike Trout. I'm just going to keep showing off this bobblehead, which is pretty awesome. And shout out to my man, Ryan DePaul, out in California, Orange County, for hooking me up with that bobblehead, by the way. I'm going with staying in my own backyard. You can chant the homer chants at me. Nick Castellanos. Come on, man, with this big, giant-ass swing of yours. When Nick Casty is sitting there doing his best work, the man is taking the ball the opposite way. He's not taking big hacks trying to pull every ball into the left field stands. You know, he's sitting there taking the ball where it's pitched and, you know, not taking swings from the heels every single time. And this week, Casty, in his last 3 games, he hasn't had a hit. In his last 10 games, he's hitting .211 with a .220 on-base percentage and a .395 slugging percentage. Although he has 2 home runs and 9 RBIs in that span, my point of swinging for the fences every time and with big-ass swings comes to point. 2 homers, but yet he's hitting .211. I mean, the kid is swinging from his heels every single time. I watched enough Nick Castellanos stuff from the Arizona Fall League over the last 2 years, watching the Futures game over the last 2 years, and watching various minor league ball games over the last 2 years, and watching enough scouting videos to know what Casty's swing looks like when he's going good. And when he's taking the ball the other way, inside out again, not trying to take huge hacks, not swinging at everything low in the zone, that is when Casty is at his best. So, Nick Castellanos, I love you, my man, but you are the LVP for this week. So, Mikey boy, you got anything to add?
Well, we're going to see your boy Sonny Gray, I think, on Sunday, so hopefully we knock him around a little bit.
No way. He's way too damn good. Dude, that slider is so filthy. Did you see that gif of what he did to Adrian Beltre with that slide piece?
Yeah, he's disgusting.
I mean, and what's crazy is he was in the bullpen last year. He got his first start on August 12th. I mean, the A's just pull these pitchers out of their ass. I mean, I don't know what it is, man. Great franchise. I'm drinking me some A's Kool-Aid, that is for sure. So if you got nothing to add, I'm John Check. That's Mikey Boy. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next week.